Hi y'all, this is Sebastian. Welcome back to the Unicorn Gathering, and it's good to be back. I've been gone for a couple months, and I haven't posted any videos, and that's because shit's been going down in the best of ways, but I've been busy tending to my life, and the biggest thing that's happened for me is that I just moved. A big move. Onto an island, which... Everybody, don't freak out. You can drive onto the island across a bridge, but it is technically an island. And I'm very happy about this move. I moved out into the country, and, it feels that way for me. I think it's pretty rural. Into a tiny house that it looks like an upside-down boat, and I just feel very happy to be in my little wizard hut now. Doing all my little magical spells and just getting down with myself. So I live on a place called Marrowstone Island, which is on the Olympic Peninsula. If you look on a map, the very northeast corner of the Olympic Peninsula looks like a dragon, with Port Townsend being like at the head of the dragon, and Marrowstone's like the claws. So I live on the Dragon Isle now, which is pretty exciting. And I bought a pickup truck, which that was back in the springtime, called the Red Dragon. Again, this is just happening to me. Synchronicities, that helps you know that you're in the flow, yo. Let me hold the mic a little bit closer, maybe, so that you can hear me better. So, what I want to say is that today is a big, important day. That was a rhyme. Because it's 11/11. It's the 11th of November, the 11th month, and, numbers are great. I don't know if y'all see 11/11 on the clock a lot. That's been happening for so long for me, but now I see all the numbers all the time, and it's just... pretty awesome. Anyhow, people call this the 11/11 portal, and I really never paid attention to the 11/11 portal till last year, and it was such a really obvious shift for me in my own consciousness that I was like, I'm going to start paying attention to this. So portals just means like going through a gateway or an opening, and on the other side is a different level of consciousness, a different frequency, a different awareness, an awakening of sorts. So that's the opportunity of today, going through today's threshold. And I feel like we're just kind of, depending on where you are in your spiritual evolution, we have a lot of access to constantly changing our consciousness. And that's just what's been happening all year and what will continue to happen. But these are sort of big ones, especially for like the collective consciousness. So, and Mercury's in retrograde. Boop, 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 boop. Bop, 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 bop. So that plays some significance in this situation. And we're going to talk a lot about healing today, because that's just what I talk about. But I think that's kind of what happens when planets go into retrograde. Stuff is starting to clear and purge, and it's no different. The other thing that has happened recently is that Jupiter, in Vedic astrology terms, has just gone into Sagittarius, which is a really big deal because we have Saturn, Pluto, and K2, the south node of the moon, in Sagittarius right now. And if you're following Western astrology, which most people are, that would be if you have any Capricorn placements. It's a really big deal. So, big shifts are underfoot, just astrologically speaking. And then we have a full moon on the day after Christmas. Not a full moon, a solar eclipse. The day of Christmas or the day after, also in Sagittarius. So, again, if you have any placements in Capricorn in Western astrology, big things happening this year and also this December, big time. So, yeah, we're going through a portal. We're dancing through it, and I'm with you as we go through it. Are you guys excited? It's pretty exciting. It's not really that cold. I'm dressed like it's the frigid winter, but it's like in the 50s, which is cold if you're from Texas. I'm not from Texas, but I did live there, and it was really hot a lot of the time. So let me just jump into these massages that I got for y'all. And that's how I'm kind of doing these videos now. I'm just channeling kind of whatever comes to me, like whatever needs to be communicated. This is stuff that kind of comes. I just start making a list of things and write it down, and then I'm like gonna share it to you. It's helpful for me. It's what I'm working through and working on, and I feel like it will be helpful for you too. And mostly the stuff is geared around spirituality, which just means taking a larger perspective of your life, and also healing, because that's really what our earth needs in spades right now, is emotional, spiritual, energetic, and physical healing. And it's kind of hard work. It doesn't have to be so excruciatingly painful. We do make it sometimes more difficult than we need to. I know I do. But that's kind of the answer. It's kind of the answer to all the things is healing right now. So, without further ado, one thing I want to say, which is very common and cliche to say, is to not to take anything personally. And what that means is if someone in your life, a character in your life, says something to you that's mean, or there's an action that's kind of unconscious, and it doesn't, it doesn't make you feel good, just know that person, how they're treating you and what they're saying to you has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. What? Yeah, it has nothing to do with you. What has something to do with you is how you react to how they're treating you. So if someone says something mean and you're just like, oh, then that says that you're not hooked in by that. But if someone says something mean and you're immediately having a severe reaction to it, then that means that you've been triggered and you're undergoing a healing cycle. You have an opportunity to heal. I think that helps separate sort of complicated situations a lot of the time when we get triggered, is to know that the person that triggered us, their actions really have nothing to do with us, so we can sort of drop any story that we have around that and just focus on what kind of emotional reaction we're having to whatever circumstance has occurred. And usually we're in pain, and if we're in pain, we just need our own compassion, love, and attention and acknowledgement, which is very difficult to do. None of us were trained. We definitely weren't taught this in the public school system. So it's very difficult to learn and practice self-love while you're going through a healing crisis, when you're triggered. And again, I think sometimes, I know that I, in the past, have taken pride in being non-reactive if someone, does something or says something. But that I was actually just numb and checked out or emotionally disconnected. I wasn't actually non-reactive. So make sure that if you're non-reactive, that you're actually connected and centered with yourself, instead of just like, I don't feel anything. Well, you might be not in touch with your emotional body. Which is, again, if you go through childhood trauma, especially, like disassociating, which means disconnecting from your physical or emotional or spiritual or energetic bodies, you learn that as a coping strategy, and you pretty much just are doing that all the time for the rest of your life. So, and I feel like this is pretty normal to go through childhood trauma on Earth. So but I do know plenty of people, not plenty, but I've people that do not disassociate from themselves. Rather, they are so with themselves, they get maybe caught up in the emotions, in the emotional torpedo or whirlwind, and are just going around like you're in a washing machine. You're just kind of stuck in it, And then the other strategy would just to be disassociate from it, just get away from the feelings completely. Yeah, I mean, depending on how severely you were traumatized, a lot of us have learned to really disassociate completely, like really not in our bodies, really not in our feelings at all, like just gone completely. So it's a lifetime's worth of work to kind of come back down, reorient ourselves around being connected on a regular basis. For me, that's a journey that I take every single day. And I'm so sensitive that it's very easy for me to pop out and then be like, oh shit, I am not so super connected with myself, and I need a lot of space and alone time to kind of come back in and feel safe again, or to be around people that I know are loving and that I trust, to come back into my experience. So just wanted to share that. Second, have faith and trust in your journey and the uniqueness of your journey. Like, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things, sharing a lot of things on social media, and it's really easy in today's world to compare ourselves to everyone around us, and to compare our lives, to compare our journeys, and feel shitty about ourselves. Like, oh, I should be in a different place than I am in my life. And like, no, like, your journey is awesome and it's unique and it's perfect for you, and to just really trust that it's unfolding exactly as it needs to. The thing is, though, that most of us are really in our journey. Like, we're hiking through the forest, like we're going through the blizzard, we're like tromping through the swamp, we're like this all sounds really hard, or we're frolicking through meadows, or the times when we're not trusting our journeys are usually when we're like climbing up the side of a volcano, or things that are like really fucking crazy feeling, or like, why does this person get to go frolic in the grass and I'm over here like, puking my brains out or something. The thing is, if we were to climb onto a mountain and look at the, like the epic hero's journey that we are on from a bird's eye view, and be like, oh, we started here, and then we went over here, and then we went over here, and it would all make sense. And we'd be like, oh, I had to go through that particular dark forest because if, otherwise I couldn't have gone over to here, and I couldn't have gone over to this little village if I hadn't done this. So from that mountaintop, we can see why our journey is the way it is, because ultimately we're all going towards what we want and what we would like to create in this world. It's just that it's a journey. It takes time, and that's part of the magic of being incarnated in a human body. So it's hard to stay chill about our journeys when we're like going through some really dark stuff, and to get perspective like, this is a necessary part of my journey. But it's important to, just to, in your own mind, to take that bird's eye view. Because if we look at things that happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or even our childhood, we can start making sense of it. Oh, I can understand why I had to go through that experience, because everything is really here to help us grow and evolve as human beings and as souls. And that's why everything's happening. Nothing bad is happening. This is all part of a grand plan, scheme, and design that's perfectly unfolding, and it's difficult, again, to see that when we're in so much pain. But also, what helps us feel compassion for other people? If we've been through a lot of pain, if we've been through a lot of struggles, then aren't we going to feel more compassionate and empathetic for other people's struggles that are going through that very specific thing? And isn't compassion and empathy what makes the world go around and makes us all get along? Yeah. So that's one way of learning about each other and the human experience, is going through a lot of struggle. And we don't have to struggle and go through that our whole lives. No. But we definitely are going to go through a little bit of it. For sure. So I wanted to kind of touch on, and I have touched on this before, but I'm going to keep touching on it forever, is the cycles of healing. And this is just something, that I'm making up. Well, first of all, we go through expansion and contraction. Expansion means newness, new experiences, really. And contraction means, coming back into ourselves and introspecting and integrating those experiences. But a lot of, and expansion and contraction should be happening constantly, like we're breathing. Except for we usually get stuck in one or the other. We get really expanded where we're like going, experiencing newness and all of this all the time. And we're never, ever touching down to integrate, to reflect, and to introspect, and to integrate all the experience and expansions. It's like the equivalent to eating a bunch of food and not digesting it. And then we can also get contracted, we can get stuck in a contracted state where we're just... we are just constantly maybe by ourselves, or living a very sort of small, narrow life where not a lot of newness is happening. And we start getting really rigid in our ways of being and our routines, and we might not even be doing much introspecting in this state. So yeah, you want to do both. And if you are in a contracted stage, you want to rest, and you also want to be integrating consciously and also introspecting. So there's a state of, and so I'm going to sort of expand on that sort of the duality of expansion and contraction a little bit, and talk about sort of different states you might find yourself in. One is a state that I think that a lot of people are in but don't realize it, and it's called exhaustion. If you take out all the stimulants, which can be just working, it can be caffeine, sugar, just constant stimulation in general. If you take that away, like, people will go to sleep because they're exhausted, and we are living kind of on false adrenaline. And so exhaustion can manifest in so many different ways: crankiness, depression, just so many ways. But it's good to, I think most of us kind of live twired, like we're wired and we're exhausted at the same time. And it's difficult to know how to rest. We haven't been taught how to rest. So that's why I'm always telling people, rest, because our Western culture is like, there's a lot of value given to going and working and going and working and doing and never stopping. Which, like, no one has adrenals that are working anymore. I really don't think so. And so we need to, and then what happens is eventually, all the stimulus doesn't work, and we if depending on the vitality of your body, you will collapse. Like, you will go into chronic fatigue. And that happens sooner rather than later for some people. So, the adrenaline will wear off because your body is like, there's just nothing left. Happened to me. True story. Please don't let it happen to you. It really sucks. So exhaustion. If you're in exhaustion, rest. Give yourself, I think that more than resting is giving yourself permission to rest, because we don't give ourselves permission to relax and rest in our culture. And oftentimes we don't want to because feelings start happening. But if you're completely exhausted, you won't be having feelings. Because you'll be emotionally exhausted, spiritually exhausted, physically exhausted. You'll just be like... So a lot of us run ourselves into exhaustion a lot. Oh, fuck. No, don't tell them. Okay, so another state of being is expansion, which we just touched on, which is new experiences. That can also mean being manic, like having a ton of energy and kind of going on adrenaline, but you're having fun. You might be even happy in some capacity, or not. You're just manic. Lots of energy, going. It's a bit ungrounded. You might be, and in that state, you can also be getting a lot of, for me, I get a lot of information, downloads, get really just a lot of intuitive hits when I'm in that state. But it's a little bit of an adrenaline rush, and you're in a sort of very stimulated space, and again, if you just perpetually stay in that, you're going to burn out. So it's important to ground out after being in a sort of expansive, high manic, downloady place. Another great part of the healing cycle, because we need all of these things. We need to like feel expansion and inspiration, because there's inspiration that really happens at expanded space and possibility, right? Expansion, possibility, inspiration, feeling very energized, like you want to do all the things. Like, that's really great. We want to feel that. That's feeling being alive, you know. But again, you can't stay in that forever. You kind of want to, because it feels like good in some ways, but don't stay in that forever. Then there's purging. Purging is like awful. So you're not exhausted. You have some energy to purge. Purge is like the equivalent to releasing and pooping energetically and emotionally. It feels like you're dying. And there can be varying degrees of purging. So if you're in a toxic situation, it could be a toxic personal relationship, it could be a toxic relationship with a family member, it could be a toxic work environment, it could be a toxic living situation, and you're getting triggered constantly and you're purging, which means you're just feeling really shitty about everything. You're shitty about your life, but you're like right next to that thing that's constantly triggering you because it's toxic. Leave! What's the one thing you gotta do? Get the fuck away from it. Get away from the toxicity. Where do I go? Anywhere else. So I'm not talking about purging. I'm not talking about getting triggered. I'm talking about like when you're just alone in your life and like everything's pretty good. Like things are actually, it's a good people. You're good. There's good people around. You got a good situation going on, and you might be getting triggered, but you know that you might be getting triggered wildly, but you know that these people are good. Like then nothing bad's actually happening in your life, but it feels like you're dying. You know, like it feels like you're fucking dying. So just know that, you know, like take an honest assessment of what's going on in your life and be like, is there, you know, what situations are actually toxic and that I need to change, and what's just like my life's actually pretty good in all these situations, but I am still going through, I feel like I'm dying. Like, why is this happening? Because you are purging and releasing trauma and or other emotions, experiences from your energetic field, and that can feel like really dark, deep emotions that come out of nowhere and seemingly overwhelm you. Don't worry, nothing bad's happening. Let that experience happen. And generally what happens is that we react to these really, really intense emotions by having really negative thought patterns and going to really negative places in our mind, and then we react to those negative thought patterns by acting out self-destructive patterns. But when we're purging, like the whole point is to go through a purge without doing harm to yourself, which is really difficult. Always manage your pain. A good way to manage your pain is just to ask your guides, please, guides, angels, beings that have my soul's highest good, can you turn down the pain meter? Please help me and support me through this experience, and I'm pretty maxed out on the pain. Can you just turn it down a bit? And they can help you. They can help you, but they cannot help you unless you ask. So you have to ask. You have to ask. So please ask. I could talk 30 minutes about purging, but I don't think that we have time. But the most important thing is when you're in a purge is to recognize that that's what's happening, first of all. That I am stepping into a new part of my life, and any big shifts and changes in my physical experience are going to elicit letting go. It's like I got to empty the wastebasket on my computer. I've got to flush the toilet. I've got to, dump the dump truck, because there's all these emotional experiences and belief patterns and energy that I don't need for the next part of my life. It's got to exit. And we store these things in our energetic field, in our physical field, and our emotional field. We store them until the proper time, because we're infinitely intelligent on the highest planes of existence. And so at the perfect time, these things are going to be released. And it feels, suddenly you have all this toxic shit running through your system, and it can feel like, why do I feel so awful? Again, this doesn't have to do with your external circumstances, usually, depending on where you are in your journey. If it does, then leave those circumstances. And also, leaving toxic circumstances is extremely difficult, so I'm not saying those things lightly. But do your best to get out of those situations. But again, if everything's hunky-dory in your life and you feel like you're dying, just know that you're going through a purge. And please just recognize that, have some awareness of it, because then you can stop reacting to it so strongly. And then also you need to know that it's okay. Like, oh, this is what's happening right now. No wonder I'm having like these sort of insane thoughts out of nowhere that feel so old. This feels like me in high school, or this feels like me when I was 25, or this feels so familiar, but it doesn't have any relevance to my current life. Like, why am I feeling this way? That shit is getting cleaned off. Your hard drive is getting cleaned off your system, and just let it fucking be cleaned. And the only thing you gotta do is just like hold on for dear life as it's happening. Do whatever you can to sort of manage your pain, your experience. Any positive action you can take towards yourself while you're in a purge is a miracle, because it don't feel good. And the last thing you want to do is something nice for yourself. Usually we just want to do something self-destructive to numb the pain, to get away from ourselves as quickly as possible. And please, do not leave yourself, do not abandon yourself when you're going through a purge, because the propensity for self-destruction is extremely high, and, a couple weeks, months, days down the road, you'll wake up and be like, fuck, what the fuck did I just do? So don't leave yourself, stay with yourself, guide yourself, and also, like, okay, if you do something self-destructive, okay, just get back on the horse. If you fall off, just get back on. It's okay. Don't be a perfectionist about your healing journey. You're going to be okay. Like if you're trying to stop smoking cigarettes or something, and you have a cigarette or something, don't fucking beat yourself up for it. It's okay. You have some awareness about the situation, and you're dealing with it, and you're going through with it, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And tell yourself that. We are on this journey of cultivating relationships with ourselves that are positive. Like relationships with our physical bodies. How well do we take care of our physical bodies? And we might be like, I'm taking care of it great. There's layers and levels to this self-care game. It's a game, and it's a fun one. So, and we're just building how awesome care can I take care of my body, because everybody's body is different and needs different things. Our physical bodies have different needs for, exercise and movement, for food, for sleep and rest. So, and then our relationship to our emotions, our emotional body. What's our relationship with our emotional experience? And what's our relationship with our mental experience, our thoughts? And we all have various relationships with different parts of ourselves. And the idea is to build a positive, supportive, loving relationship with ourselves, which we have never been taught. What we were actually taught is to not be nice to ourselves on a consistent basis inside our minds. emotionally and physically, to hate our bodies, to really make ourselves wrong for having feelings. Oh, that's so sad, right? Like, I'm not allowed to have a feeling. It's not okay for me to feel sad. It's not okay to feel angry. Like, oh. That's so sad. And then our minds, wow. Vicious thoughts running through our minds all the time that we are not even aware of about ourselves. And that's okay. But what's not okay is when we listen to them and really take those vicious thoughts to heart. And what we can do is supplement the mental game with positive mental thoughts. And I made videos on how to take care of yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally, and you can find those. Just search in my channel to give some information on, like, how can I build a positive relationship with myself. And of course, it's becoming a little bit more popular now, so you can just find that on social media too. And we can have really positive relationships and treat other people so good. In fact, if you're sensitive and empathic and a unicorn, which a lot of people that are watching this channel are, you are going to treat other people so much better than you treat yourself. You go out of your way to make someone's day, to do something for someone's body, to say something really sweet to someone, to always pick someone up. But then when it comes to you, you are neglecting your own physical needs. You're neglecting saying nice things to yourself, congratulating yourselves on your accomplishments and achievements, and giving yourself positive self-talk and support. So, really important, y'all. Really, really important. Really important, because it's not sustainable to go through life without taking care of yourself. And then how are we going to continue to be loving and supportive to other people? Because what happens eventually is, if you neglect yourself enough, you're going to start lashing out at others consciously, well, mostly unconsciously, right? You'll abandon others, or you'll lash out at others because you have nothing left to give. Your gas tank is empty, and you haven't learned how to fill it up. And so you will hit rock bottom, and usually that's what it takes for people to really start prioritizing taking care of themselves and self-care. I know that's what's happened in my experience. So I am just sharing, and I hopefully everything I'm sharing with you, this is stuff that I'm intimately familiar with. Like, this is what I am doing every single day. And I'm not super well versed at it, so I'm learning and growing as everyone is out there, and learning to build a better relationship with myself, and hopefully just sharing some of what I've learned to help people through their journeys, so that they can be in less pain and less struggle and have a little bit better go of it on Earth, on our lovely Earth journey that we're on. So, we're at 30 minutes. I'm not really through my list, but there's endless things to share constantly. So it will just be about how often I make videos. And instead of like really committing to a schedule, which as soon as I was like, I'm going to make a video every week, then I was like, fuck that. So I'll just make videos when I feel like I need to. And hopefully you all get a lot out of this, and it helps you, and you can just know that you're doing a really great job, and to give yourself endless positive reinforcement for wherever you're at on your journey. Happy 11/11. Welcome to the portal and through the portal. Big shifts. A lot of people are going through massive shifts in their lives. Physical things are changing, or emotional things are changing. But either way, we are going through a massive, just lovely journey and growth spurt right now, collectively and individually. And it's a crazy time to be alive. But it is really a blessing to be in this very unique journey on Earth right now, amongst everyone that's doing the same thing. So I love y'all. Thanks for being here. And if you have any questions, you can comment on this video, but I know no one's gonna do that. Because everyone's so shy and sweet and sensitive. Everyone's so sensitive and sweet and so sensitive, and I just love all of y'all, and I am also one of those people. I'm very sweet and very sensitive, although I have learned to, be fierce to survive. So your fierceness is also important. It's good to be both really kind and very fierce, but don't be fierce towards yourself. Just be fierce in your courage, the courage that it takes to create your life in a way that you want it, to align yourself with who you really are. That takes a lot of courage in this world because I don't think I need to explain that. Especially to all the queerdos out there. Alright, I'm signing off. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.